All right, welcome everyone. Give folks a few moments to join and then we'll go ahead and get started. All right, seeing some folks start to trickle in. So welcome everybody. My name is Bo. Today we are joined by Alex from HOVR Floating Shelf Solutions. We're going to be doing a really great live demonstration today. This was a topic that we've done in the past that was really a hit. So very excited to be providing this webinar again for y'all today. Before we jump into today's presentation, I'm going to give a quick little tour of some resources on Acelab's website. We're helping out with hosting today's event, so you can jump over to our platform if you're looking for some more information after today's webinar. So I'll show you a few places to access that, and then we will send over some links in the chat as well, so keep your eyes peeled for that. But what I want to show you all today is just what to do if you leave the webinar and you want to learn some more about the products from HOVR, or get in touch with their team directly. You can use that search bar, type in the name of any product, any brand or resource. It'll cross-search between all of the different resources that we have on Acelab. And then scrolling down here, you can click this button to get in touch with Alex directly. You can provide some project details or just submit a general request. You can communicate directly through Acelab's platform. And then scrolling down here, you're able to view some more about the company and their main values, as well as their products. You can save these to your firm library or a research folder or a project for future reference. And you can open up one of these product pages to view some more about the product, see some additional images, scroll down and get some more descriptions, as well as installation guides. So this is a great place to come after today's webinar if you're looking for some more resources or to get in touch with Alex. I'll send over a link to the HOVR page in the chat momentarily. Last thing I want to show y'all is if you do get in touch with Alex today through this button, we'll also provide an option for you to express interest in getting connected with Alex during the live webinar. So if you say yes to that, we'll go ahead and create a conversation for you. To access those conversations, you can always click on this little conversation tab in the top right of your account. Head over there and that'll be all of your conversations on Acelab. So this is a great way to keep your communication organized along with your product research. You're also going to get an email anytime you have a new message, and you can reply directly to those emails as well. So you don't need to open the platform, but it can be a great way to just kind of get an overview of all the communication that you have. Last thing I want to show everyone today is just a little preview of some of our newer features. So jumping over here to something called the Schedules tab. This is currently live for early access use. So if you're interested in getting access to this, I'll drop my colleague's meeting link into the chat. You can sign up for a free quick demo. We'll get you all set up with your schedules tool. This is a great way to store your product information. You can pull in data from Acelab. You can also provide your own custom data. So you can really make this work for you and your firm. You can keep your reps organized here as well. So a really great way to kind of keep all of your product research and your communication organized in one place and have it be fully collaborative for your team. All right, that is it for me here. I will send over some links to some of that stuff we discussed in the chat today. So keep your eyes peeled for that. Last thing I want to mention is just feel free to ask any questions during today's webinar. You can use the Q&A box to do that. We should have some time to get to some questions live. And if we don't get to your question live, we'll be able to follow up with you after today's event. All right, that's it for me. Alex, whenever you're ready, feel free to go ahead and get started.
Cool. Yeah. So hi, as Bo said, I'm Alex from HOVR Solutions, and we sell brackets for floating shelves. Yeah, we mostly, patent, market, design, and sell floating shelf hardware. Yeah, I'll try and save some time for questions. We're doing a similar webinar to the last one here, but I'm going to try and save quite a bit more time for questions at the end because we ran out last time. Before we get started on the PowerPoint, I just want to mention quickly here, this shelf here is still the one that we put up last time, which in the last webinar, which was maybe 5 months ago or so. It's still strong and sturdy, and that was after we put 150 pounds on there. So that just speaks a little bit to the longevity of the bracket systems as well here, but we'll get more into that when we get into the full demo. The slimline shelf was here. It's this one here. We ended up just putting a longer one, a 4-foot shelf here, still the slimline. with the same bracket that was on there for this one. But again, yeah, we'll get to that in a bit. But I just wanted to share that before we get into the webinar here, and we'll come back to that in a bit as well. Just get on the screen here. All right, so let me just share my screen here. All right, yeah, so as I said, HOVR Solutions, we're trying to become the new industry standard for floating shelf hardware. As I said, we patent design, market and sell bracket systems. Yeah, so that's kind of it there. So starting off, yeah, who we are, and we'll get into a little bit about the current industry problems, why floating shelf hardware, doesn't work that well often, or there's a lot of issues with it. Then we'll go into the product overview and demo. That's the wall behind me there. Moving into advantages of the HOVR bracket system, why our bracket systems are better than the competition, and then finally saving quite a bit of room for time there for questions at the end. So starting off, who we are, we're a small business trying to disrupt, the industry, which is floating shelf hardware. Design, R&D, IP, marketing, and service are obviously, selling are kind of our main, sort of pillars there of what we do. All of our brackets are premium, obviously floating shelf brackets, strong, safe, easy to install, versatile. We have stocking advantages, adjustability advantages, and plenty of other things, which we're going to get into as well. We're an online focused business, easy purchasing online, easy and free shipping generally. We'll get into a little bit more of that later on as well, though. We have easy access to knowledge and also knowledge which covers a wide range of topics on our bracket systems, trying to always make sure that our customers know what they're doing and how to use the bracket. And when they do, time and time again, we hear, I'm never going to use another bracket system. I'm only going to use the HOVR bracket. It just works better. It's easier to install, etc. So it's always good to hear that what you're selling is what you think as well, which is that it's better, and it's nice to kind of get that feedback and hear that it's what we're doing, right? So that's good. We also do large commercial orders. We work with some distributors and retailers in certain spaces like Windsor Plywood and Worthwood Group, where we'll send them brackets for them to sell that way. As I mentioned, we're very service oriented as well. So going into current problems, right? There's a bunch of different floating shelf hardware. It's often, outdated and weak and unreliable and secure solutions. There's the classic two-prong system and other things which just don't really hold any weight. You can see low weight rating, around 30 to 50 pounds. So starting off, one of the biggest issues is obviously weak, unreliable, and unsafe floating shelves. There's for a two-prong system, for example, there's weight distribution inefficiencies. You're putting all the weight on those two posts, and then you're just not going to get the load capacity you're looking for when you've got all the pressure on just 2 points there. Again, the average kind of load capacity there is 30 to 50 pounds, but if you've ever used one of these two-prong brackets, you'll know that you really can't put more than about 15 pounds on that. In contrast, to our bracket, which again we'll get to later, but it's about a 300-pound load capacity, and you can truly get there with it, right? Unsafe, weak locking mechanisms. Again, there's other bracket systems too, like the L bracket. Those generally don't have any locking mechanisms, or you've got the two-prong, which sometimes has locking mechanisms, sometimes doesn't. And again, you can kind of see there's so many different things, and nothing's really standardized in the industry really either, and that's where we come in with our standardized installation instructions and all of this as well, and obviously a better bracket, right? So moving into another big issue is complicated and slow installation. This goes for both the shelf install, which we'll cover now, and then the wall install, which we'll cover in the next slide. But essentially, when it comes to the shelf install, for prong system, which most of the systems out there are prong systems, but there are others as well, you know, like a slit design or whatever. But most of them, you know, you do have an extra step. So in this case, for the prong system, you know, you need to drill really deep and precise holes into your shelf in order to get that bracket system on. In contrast to ours, you know, it's just routering and that's it. Here you need to router and drill those deep holes, right? And again, lining up the screw holes to make sure everything fits. You know, often it can be finicky and tedious, and then, you know, if you're off on an angle, you'll generally maybe have to pre-drill or re-drill or even maybe use another piece if you know, the hole is off that much, right? So there's that. And then again, the wall side as well, you know, you run into issues. There's no adjustability, generally no left to right adjustability, no up and down adjustability to make sure you get the angle right. You know, generally they will sag or fail because, you know, there's just no weight distribution efficiency, and you know, if you're not hitting the stud and stuff and it doesn't line up, and even with that, you know, it's the prongs really that fail often there. And again, you're not going to get more than kind of that 30 to 50 pounds there. Yeah, and again, a big one is that installation information as well. There's a big lack there in any of these floating shelf hardwares, really, where you're going to find you know, proper installation instructions that are standardized for the system that you're installing. Moving into versatility of bracket systems, again, you know, there's different bracket systems for different applications, but generally there isn't one that does everything really well. And that's kind of where we came in. We designed something new and made something that can be used by both professionals and businesses and also consumers and do-it-yourself individuals and things like that, right? And another big thing about versatility with any of these bracket systems is you have to stock multiple lengths generally to, you know, build the size of shelf that you want to build. You can't cut them or change them in any way to make them work as efficient and as effectively as possible for your product, right? And that's different than ours as well, where you can cut and change the length of it, and you only need to stock one length and cut it to whatever size you need, right? But again, we're going to get into those advantages a little later on here as well. So again, products overview here, moving into the solutions, right? And this is our first original solution. It's the classic HOVR bracket system. It's 1.5 inch by 7/8 inch profile. I do have a piece right here as well to show you guys. So it's a 2-piece bracket system. One piece goes into the shelf here, you know, and again, you just router it, it goes into the shelf, and then the other piece here goes onto the wall. And then once you've got this on the wall, this in the shelf, you just connect the two together like that, and you know, you get it on the wall. You got a perfect 90 always, because you know, if your wall is 90, and if not, you can't adjust that as well. So, you know, with that, you can buy those directly online. They come per 4-foot bracket. It comes with 8 2.5 inch screws, 25 1.25 inch screws, 4 set screws for that locking mechanism, 1 drill bit to drill the holes in the male bracket, and which is the piece that goes on the wall here. You can see it comes with no holes, so you can line it up properly with your studs. And then 1 hex key for those set screws with the locking mechanism there. Made of aluminum, so you can cut it to size. It's made for 2-inch shelving or thicker. Generally, you know, we have different bracket systems if you're going above 4 inches, but you can still use the classic up to there and a little bit beyond as well. One thing that is required additionally from this is the bit pack, which I do have one back as well. And that's just a 17/64 inch and a 5/16 inch, or 17/64 inch drill bit and a 5/16 inch flat bit. It just looks like that. And again, that's for the set screw holes for that locking mechanism there. Moving on to the slim line, I've got a piece here as well. So this one comes with holes both in the male side and the female side here. Again, 2-piece. It works similarly, but the profile here is 1 1/8 inch by 7/8 of an inch. So you're basically going to be able to do thinner shelving with this one. And this one really is specifically for thinner shelving. If you've got shelving above 2 inches, we recommend you go with the classic bracket. If it's, an inch and 7/8 or less, you go with the slim bracket. This one's rated to 150 pounds instead of 300. But again, yeah, it works the same way. Comes with holes in both sides, as I said. This one, we recently just changed the hardware on it. We used to use, regular wood screws, number 12s, 2.5 inch and 3.5 inch. But we found, a lot of our customers were having issues with those screws. They were breaking off, or, they weren't holding the load capacity that they should have. So we recently actually switched to using GRK screws for this. And use kind of the best brackets with the best screws, right? So we've had no more issues with the slimline hardware now that we've switched over to the GRKs, and it just kind of shows again, how service oriented HOVR is as a company. We see a lot of our customers struggling with these screws, so we want to make that change and switch to something better. And since then, everything's been smooth sailing again with the slimline as well. So just catering to the problems as well, right? This was the second bracket we came out with. And again, it's for thinner shelving, which so many customers were asking for. So, we made a solution for that, and we made it better as well, based on customer feedback, right? So moving on, we've got our steel bracket here as well. So this is a little different from our aluminum brackets, which the aluminum brackets are kind of our bread and butter. It's what we sell mostly. And we've got the steel bracket here, which this one ranges from 2.5 inch to 7 inch tall. And if you're doing something that's thicker than kind of 4 or 5 inches, you really need it to hold a lot of weight, this one's made to order. It's made to use lag bolts, and it's made for maximum strength, right? And you can see we've got a 3,000 pound load capacity on this one, and it's for floating benches, floating vanities, floating mantles, things like that, right? So that's kind of our third piece there. So now I'll go into a quick little demo here. So I'll stop sharing, just so we can see kind of how easy this whole thing is, right? So as I said, this is the one we already had on here, and we put about 200 pounds on this one last time. And I'll probably just tighten this up here, because you do want to tighten those those set screws as the locking mechanism, just to, they do loosen over time. Just keeps it nice and tight. And we'll just do a weight demo on this one, and then I'll do a little extra demo with this longer piece down here after. So I've got some weights down here. So I'm just gonna start loading this thing down. And what I'll mention during this is our load capacity of 300 pounds on this bracket is rated at an 8-inch depth in 2 wood studs. So these weights are about 11 inches out here. This is at 8 inches here. So the further you go out, the less load capacity you're going to get. So at 11 inches, which is what we're at here, we're not going to quite get 300 pounds. But we'll start stacking it up and definitely use all the weights I have. So that's 100 pounds there. And there's 150 pounds. That's all the weights I have on me right now. But that's 150 pounds at 11 inches off the wall and 2 wood studs. And that's the same shelf that we put on the same weight last time around. And you can see all I did there was tighten the set screws, and it's still holding this weight, really, really well. So you don't need to worry much about longevity. Once you put these on, you're basically good to go. And that's not a permanent install either. So we can take this shelf off the wall anytime we want. And now I want to do a little demo with this piece because behind here, we've got the bracket that's actually for this shelf here, which kind of demonstrates our 2 to 3 ratio a little bit. And what that is for every 3 feet of shelf you have, you can use a 2-foot bracket. So you don't need to go your full length all the way across, as long as you're kind of hitting those 2 studs and stick to a general 2 to 3 ratio. You know, you can use less bracket and also, you know, be more efficient and save some money that way. These 4-foot shelves here are 12 inches deep. We generally recommend with the slimline at a max depth of 12 to 14 inches. But as you can see, the slimline has no issue holding up this shelf here, which is a butcher block full wood hardwood shelf, so it weighs a good 50 pounds on its own here. Same with this one. This is a white oak, so it also weighs about 20, 30 pounds. So there you can see, you know, the bracket we have in here. Again, this can be shortened as well, but that's the bracket we had on the wall here. I'm still using our old hardware as well here. And you know what you can see is that 2 to 3 ratio. We went even more extreme. We probably did a half ratio there. But yeah, so again, this is the shelf we had on. So you've got, you know, you put a level here, make sure this is straight. Screw those into your studs. Again, this you just screw into your shelf here after you router it out. And you can see you've got the locking mechanisms down here, the little set screws where you'll need that drill bit and tap bit. Just clip that together. Give it a little hit from the back. Tighten up these set screws with the included hex key here. And you do want to make sure these set screws are nice and tight. I'm going to go back over these and make sure they're really tight here. And these set screws, you know, they ensure that these 2 bracket systems are fully engaged with each other, and that'll give you almost always a 90 right off the wall as well. Of course, if your wall isn't quite at 90, you may need to do some slight adjustments, but it's not too difficult to do, and we do have a lot of info on that on our website as well. You can see we're nice and tight here. You know, I'm giving that a good tap and start putting some weights on here as well again, just to show that off. And again, this is 11 inches out, so we're going to put 100 pounds max on this. We don't want to do any more than this here. Because again, you know, the slimline's rated at 150 pounds, 8 inches off the wall, but we're going off 11 inches here. So you can see that's why we always recommend the classic bracket as well, if you've got the room for it. And if not, then you want to go with the slimline there. The other thing that comes with the HOVR bracket when you order, as I mentioned, is the hardware. So you get a little hardware kit like this. This is the classic here, and this is the slim here. You can see they look a little different. Camera's not great. But again, what you get in here is all the hardware I mentioned earlier, right? So this is for the classic. You get your install guide. You get your screws for your male bracket to the wall, set screws, hex key and drill bit, and then your screws for the female bracket there. And then in the slim line, again, you get the install guide. You get the GRKs for the male side, the set screws there, which are a little shorter, an Allen key, and then the female bracket side screws as well there. So that is that really. And now I'll go back to the presentation and kind of run through the remainder of the advantages there. You guys kind of got to see some up here as well. And yeah, we'll go from there. So. All right, so again, advantages of the HOVR bracket system. We're going to go through each of these individually, but the main ones again are strength and safety, easy and efficient installation, the ability to cut the bracket and to only need to stock one variety of bracket. We call that it being aluminum and uniform at a ratio of 3:2. We also get increased versatility, both in terms of what kind of shelves you can make with the HOVR bracket system, but also in terms of adjustability, both left to right, up and down, etc. Right? So moving into strength and safety here, we got the high load capacity compared to other bracket systems. Again, we've got weight distribution across the entire length of the shelf, or across the entire length of the back of the bracket. Instead of having, a distribution on 2 points, for example, with a prong system, or even with an L bracket, you're going to get all that distribution on just 2 points. With our bracket, it kind of brings that load capacity distributed across the entire length, and that gives us a much higher load capacity compared to the bracket systems, especially the more screws you have in the wall there as well. We use obviously high-grade aluminum, and then we've got a strong and safe set screw design. You can see from back there, from when I was tightening those set screws up, it really puts those two brackets together, marries the two, and ensures you get a 90 off the wall, and ensures that it's safe and that it's never going to come down from there. Moving into easy install, we've got easier install both for the shelf and the wall side. Again, on the shelf side, only the routering is required. You don't need to drill deep holes or anything like that based on the design of it, right? It's easy to secure the female bracket to the shelf. It's just these ordinary screws, which I showed off before, right? The 1 1/4 inch. Can be installed into essentially any material, wood, MDF, as long as it's directionally appropriate. Metal, people have done concrete shelves. And anything else, right? It's also a big advantage having that simple wiring for lights. As you can see from the classic here, you've got quite a bit of space in there to do lights and whatever else you need to put back there in terms of electronics or anything else. Going onto the wall install side, again, it goes directly on top of any surface. You can see here we went on top of drywall, but it can go on top of wood, metal, any hard surface, any soft surface, concrete, drywall only even. That comes with different hardware, but we can see in this last shot, for example, where I'm showing this weight distribution here with all the arrows coming down, you can see this one was a drywall only installation where we use drywall anchors across. And that even in and of itself, because of those kind of weight distribution advantages, can hold a lot of weight there. And we've stacked up to 150 pounds in just drywall as well even. So yeah, so there's that. Then again, the adjustability mechanics, you can go up, down, left, right. If we have time, I can show you guys on these here. And again, set screw design makes it easy to get a 90 off the wall, and you just tighten those and you're done, right? You can adjust a little bit, and it just makes it easier than, for example, a prong system, right? You put that on there and you've got your 2 prongs, you're not going left to right anywhere. It's exactly where you've put that bracket on the wall. That's not necessarily true with our bracket system. And we see end users buy our brackets all the time. They'll make the shelf themselves, they'll put it on the wall themselves, and it's really an easy process where most people can do it if they read the installation instructions and understand them properly. Moving on to efficiency and versatility. Again, we got the 3:2 ratio of wood to bracket. I talked quite a lot about that. One thing I didn't mention is, of course, you can sacrifice some strength for cost effectiveness and use a more extreme ratio, right? So if your customer is like, well, I only needed to hold as much as an IKEA shelf, for example, let's say 20 pounds, well, then you can use a really short length of bracket and you're still going to be much cheaper than buying a regular bracket and using that full length, right? Again, aluminum and uniform, right? Easy to cut to any size. So what most businesses do is I'll just buy the 8-foot brackets and stock the 8-foot size, and that's it. And then they can cut whatever they need for whatever project they have off of those 8-foot brackets. You're going to be really efficient with it, you know, and cost effective, right? And save money. So, and again, that's those stocking advantages there that I mentioned as well. And standardized brackets, hardware, and installation instructions is something I have mentioned quite a bit about as well. And that just goes back to, you know, we've made our installation instructions easy to use, easy to read, and everything, you know, all of our bracket systems that we design are all going to be somewhat standardized and offer similar installation instructions, making it easy for our customers to use, right? There's also many shelf designs that weren't previously possible, which we mentioned as well. We mentioned adjustability, easily movable, right? You saw me take that 4-foot off and put the 2-foot there. And again, made for professionals and DIYs, as I mentioned there as well, right? So here again, is just a little versatility, some things you can do with our bracket systems that you can't do with others. You can see a plexiglass shelf, for example, there. You know, got the bracket hidden in the back, but the drawer shelf or shoe rack shelf there is also something you can't really do with other bracket systems because you're not going to have enough room there, you know, to be able to have that space for the drawer or have that, you know, space to get that slant there for the shoe rack shelf or things like that. And obviously a marble or granite shelf is going to be too heavy to do with any or most other bracket systems. Here's just a couple more examples of some things that you can do with our bracket system, hidden or not hidden. That's really not doable with other bracket systems, right? Corner shelves are also easy, again, with that adjustability from left to right. You can really just hit, you know, butt those up against each other or miter them if you really want to. And those are both options, but yeah, it's definitely easy to do. And resources, again, right, we've got a vast knowledge base on our website, information on our products at hover.helpjuice.com. We've got all our standardized installation guides on our website. We've got, you know, plenty of resources and information on, you know, how much certain depths of shelves can hold, when to use what product that we offer, you know, video, image, and text galleries, all explaining how to use the bracket system properly, you know, what to do for hard surfaces, what to do for soft surfaces, etc. Right? So we have all that information, and otherwise you can always reach out to us, to our emails, or we have a contact email on our website as well. So, you know, we've got a lot of information there to ensure that our customers, you know, have an easy and good experience using our bracket systems. And that comes through on our reviews. You know, all of these advantages that I've mentioned really show up in our reviews and show how good our brackets really are, right? You can see this is on our website here, the top one, and then the bottom one is on Amazon, and those are our reviews for our classic bracket. So all really positive, you know, and even the ones that aren't positive, you know, we always fix those issues and, you know, work towards the future to make our bracket systems better, right? Here's our slim reviews. We just started selling these on Amazon, but, you know, you can see on our website that they're all really good as well there. And there's just some more examples there. Sale options and pricing. Again, this is done. The easiest method is directly from our website. It's free shipping over $100. Retail 2-foot is $49.99, both sizes. Retail 4-foot is $89.99. Again, the slim and the classic, right? For a 4-foot, both different types there. and the 8-foot the same as well. It's $169.99 for an 8-foot of either the classic or the slim. We do have certain discounts as well. We've got our volume pricing of our pro pricing of 10% if you buy 8 or more brackets or 10 or more in Canada. We've also got, special further discounts on larger volume orders, and then crate pricing for distributors and those, really looking to do very large volumes. So, we've got things set up for all types of clients as well. And that is pretty much it there. Tried to save a lot of time for questions, which it looks like we do, so that's good. And then once we're kind of done all these questions, I can go and show off a little bit more about the adjustability mechanics and things on the shelving if we still have time.
Awesome. All right, sounds good, Alex. If it sounds good, I will just start reading out some questions and you can answer them out loud.
Sure.
All right, great. All right, let's start off here with an easy one. Are there any geographic limitations for where you can ship?
Not really. So we are, most of our business is in Canada and the US, but we have launched in Europe as well. And we do have product over there, which you can buy and have shipped to you within just a few days. We have a warehouse in France. And there's also in the Indian Ocean, we have product and a few other places, and we're always looking to expand, right? And if it's a large enough order, we can, we have systems in place and we have our freight forwarders who can get you that product. Yeah.
Awesome.
But we do actually have stock in Germany, Greece, France, and Mauritius.
Yeah.
All right. Next up, are there any specific wood species or engineered materials that you found to be either optimal or problematic when routing the female bracket channel?
If I may.
Yeah, sure, go for it, Peter.
All woods are good. The only issue is with MDF. The female bracket that goes into the shelf should not be drilled into the sides of the MDF. Into the face, yes, it will hold just as well.
Okay.
But all other woods are perfectly fine with the bracket.
Yeah, so essentially, pretty much all materials are usable with the HOVR bracket system, but it really, there are certain things, as Peter mentioned, MDF being one of them. You have to know to drill into the face side to make sure that those screws don't rip out. But again, we've got information and knowledge on that on our website as well. So, if you're ever wondering any questions, of course you can contact us. But there's also that thorough information on the website too.
Awesome. All right. Maximum shelf depth and thickness.
Yeah, so for maximum shelf length, really there isn't one. I mean, if you're doing, I would say probably maybe a 15-foot long shelf is probably where you'd want to cut it with one 8-foot bracket. So anything past that, maybe not, but I mean, 15 feet, I wouldn't, it's not too much of a limitation generally, I would say. And then in terms of depth, generally we say that the classic up to I believe 15 inches or so, and then the slim to 12 inches or to 13 inches or something around there. But again, you can go further, but if you're trying to stay within our load capacity recommendations and things, then that's generally where we cut it off. But it sounds like Peter has some things to add to that as well. So,
if I may add something to this, we did have a customer who did a 21-foot long shelf, and he took an 8-foot bracket and added another bracket to the side. It's a little bit finicky because the male brackets on the wall have to be 100% aligned, because obviously the female brackets on the shelf are 100% aligned as well. But he's managed. It's a good wood worker could do it easily, actually. For the novice, I wouldn't suggest two pair of brackets parallel to each other. And for the depth, our weight capacities are calculated at the center of the load from the shelf to be at 8 inches from the wall. You can do a 20-inch deep shelf, but obviously if you put 300 pounds at the tip of the shelf, it's not going to hold those 300 pounds. It's going to hold the 300 pounds at 8 inches off the wall. So it always depends where you position that object actually that you put on the shelf for the weight.
Mm-hmm.
All right, great. Next up, could you go into some more detail on how to integrate downlighting?
Yeah, well, there is a couple ways, right? It also depends on what kind of wood you're using, or if you're making like a hollow shelf, for example, then it might be quite a bit easier. So yeah, I mean, if you're doing a hollow shelf and you want something like a pot light at the bottom, right? You can just run the wiring through the MDF in the middle, right? Because it's hollow, and then run it, through the back of. So you go through the hollow shelf, and then you can either make one of these holes bigger if you need a bigger hole, or if that's enough, then that's good. And you'd come through to the front here, and you can, either go to the side and then back, because remember, you can do a 3-to-2 ratio. So you've got extra shelf here where you can, run it out and down or whatever. And if it's a full wood shelf, similar, but again, you're going to have to deal with that wiring somehow going through the shelf. So in that option, it might be better to just like line it into the bottom of the shelf, but it's possible with full wood as well. But in terms of how it would work with the bracket system, right, you can see you've got this extra channel, and even when you've got both the pieces together here, you've still got this upper channel, the full upper channel where you can do wiring with, right? The bottom we recommend leaving mostly clear, because you can see the bar here where the set screws will hit might interfere there, but you've got all that top room channel where you can do wiring with.
If the wire comes out of the wall, you can also drill a bigger hole through the male bracket before you attach it to the wall and feed the wire through that bigger hole. Right? And then connect the cables that come out of the female bracket that are in the shelf with the cable that comes out of the male bracket, which came out of the wall, connect them. And then, as Alex said, you still have enough room at the upper channel to actually put those two connections inside. Just not at the bottom, because at the bottom you might have then those cables where exactly the set screw goes, and that could damage the cable. But you could even put it at the bottom as long as the set screws are far away from where you're putting the cables. Right.
Awesome.
But there's a diagram on our knowledge base for both scenarios.
Cool. Right, awesome. Well, it looks like that may have wrapped up our questions for now. So if anyone has any follow-up questions, feel free to chime in the Q&A. Alex, was there something else you wanted to show before we jump off for the day?
Yeah, I mean, I could just do maybe a quick 5-minute demonstration or less of sort of some of the adjustability mechanics of the bracket system. We'll use the classic bracket here. So again, just undoing these set screws here is the first
Alex,
step.
do you want to put on your camera and go out of the demonstration so they can see you a little bit better?
Oh,
I just started. You're good.
Okay.
Thank you, Bo.
No problem.
So once those set screws are up, right, you can just pop it right off. And it, you know, again, you've got your female on the shelf there, male on the wall here. And maybe I can show a little bit better how these set screws look in here. So you can see those push up against the bar there and against the other bar on the male side, you know, to kind of lock those together there. But anyways, in terms of adjustability, right? This one is going to be slightly less adjustable because we've basically got the male bracket here at the same as the end of the wood goes. But again, you can shorten that, right, and give yourself more adjustability. But even with that little amount, you can see, you know, you can go left to right here, quite a bit still, even on that short bit. You know, you get about an inch either way. So that's one way you can adjust it. And the other one is, if you notice you're not at 90 or your wall isn't at 90 here, right? Your bracket is always going to sit basically flat against the wall here. So if your wall, let's say, you know, is you know, much greater than a 90-degree angle, what you can do is you can drill a hole next to your stud here, similar to this one, and then you would put one of these screws behind it and then adjust in and out. I can try and demonstrate that. But I will have to take the whole bracket off. So what you would do is you take a screw, take that all the way to the wall. Once you get your bracket on here, you'd have two holes next to each other, right? Another one for where your screw would go on top. Let's just imagine there's two screws here as well. Now what you can do, you know, let's say you want to tilt it up a little bit. You've got this screw back here and you drill. Push that out. See, and now this screw is pushing this bracket out and kind of tilting it up. And that would be, you know, if your shelf is tilted forward. And again, you can do the exact opposite if your wall is pointing outwards or leaning, you know, away from you, right? So that's kind of the adjustability there. So you've got left and right and your angle there as well, if needed, right? And generally the angle is never needed because your wall is going to be essentially at 90 with your bracket. So generally that you never need to do this kind of adjustability, but you know, in case you do, it is possible as well. Yeah, I mean, I guess that's mostly it there for that part. So.
All right, awesome. That was great. And it looks like we are almost at time. So don't see any other questions in the chat. Quick reminder to everyone, if you need any of the links that we threw in the chat, feel free to grab them now. There's a link to go to the Hover page on Acelab, a link for a free demo with Acelab. So feel free to grab any of those before you head out for the day. Awesome. All right. Well, I just want to thank everyone so much for coming out today. I know we shifted the time for this, so we appreciate everyone who was able to join us. And thank you, Alex, for a really great demonstration and presentation. It's always really fun to get to see the product in action, so we appreciate it.
Thank you.
Thank you, Will.
Awesome. Have a good day, everyone.
You too. Bye-bye.
Awesome. Thank you very much. Yeah, have a good one as well. And yeah, hope everyone enjoyed. So